is an amazing day to be alive. You know what is amazing about life? The moments that we encounter, the moment that we experience, they are just priceless. You know, we can't duplicate them, replicate them, or whatever word we choose to use. We can't double them up. You just have to just live it and do it one time and done. And so I want to say good morning and welcome to the breakfast hour. If you're on YouTube, we welcome you. If you're on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, say good morning. Howdy, all of you. Welcome to the breakfast hour. We have so much to talk about, and of course, I say good morning to Mikey G, who is here with us. We are happy that you have decided to join us live. We are here to give you some good vibes as you get ready to go to work, school, and if you have CSEC exam, I say all the best. You should have already been there for the 9 o'clock exam, and you are settling in. All the best to our students who are doing their exams and those who are getting ready for vacation. Good morning. What a long waiting. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome.
It's just like the school is out. School is about to be out. Some persons are already off from school already. It is the holiday season. It is the summer. For those who did not get their summer bodies yet, the summer body idea when people are going out and they're at the gym. They're at the gym from maybe say May. Early
Let me drop
January,
it out.
early January for the summer body in
No.
June.
We have a ready-made summer body. We don't have time for those sweaty
Uh,
things. We can just go get it done, one and done. Have the nice curvy, everything just right. That is how we
so
do
without any work, you can just do surgery and fix you up, and you're just where you need to be.
it. Yes, so I'm gonna talk to Dr. K about that to see if I, need a referral or.
Well, it's Wednesday. It is Wellness Wednesday, and of course, when we come back.
I'm Audley Scott, and you're listening to Flashpoint Radio. Rise and shine, your morning boost of inspiration, news, and fun. With Mikey G, Lady Elise, and Coralie Karen, the unmistakable combination, synergized to navigate.
Welcome back. It is, of course, Wellness Wednesday. So, of course, I know you are geared up and ready to hear what Dr. K has to share with us this morning. For those of you who are joining for the first time, I would like to introduce Dr. K to you. She is a physician, yes, with many years of experience, and she has a passion not only for caring for you, but for your preventative primary health care. So each Wednesday she comes on and she shares with us what we need to do to take care of our health, so that when you come to see her or your physician, you're just doing your wellness check and you don't have a situation that threatens your very well-being, your happiness, your life, your health, and other things. So, of course, Dr. K is going to be joining us, and she has to share with us something that is very common. And I get a lot of questions about this condition, uterine fibroids. So if you're just logging on and you know someone who needs to hear this information, at this time I want to invite you to go ahead and share the link.
Lady Elise, as Dr. K comes to speak this morning, I know that some of the men are interested in what this thing is. I know it can affect them, So we are here waiting to hear about fibroid this morning. When we come back, yeah, the guys are waiting, right? The guys are listening for this one.
To share with all of us.
I'm telling you, ladies, you know. All right. Well, of course, this segment is brought to you by Asai Ultrasound for all your ultrasound needs right here in the Grand Cayman Islands. Of course, when we come back, we bring to you Dr. K, and of course, talking a little bit more about our health.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They are conveniently located at number 4, Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
Welcome back to the breakfast hour. I want to say a pleasant good morning to you, and of course, good morning to Dr. K this morning as well. Good morning.
Hey, welcome to the breakfast hour. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. No, you should be welcoming us because this is your baby and you have been sharing so much valuable information with us. And I'm intrigued by the topic that you have chosen this morning because I don't think you can complete this discussion in 15 or 20 minutes. So I will not take any more time. I'll just hand it over to you.
So this morning, good morning everyone, good morning Lady Elise, good morning Mikey G.
Good morning Dr. K.
So this morning we'll be talking about uterine fibroids, and one person requested that I spoke about uterine fibroids last week. So a friend of mine in Georgia who is listening said she sent the link to her friends. In fact, she said she sent it to 892 persons. And one person was asking for us to speak on uterine fibroids. So this week we're talking about uterine fibroids. So basically, what are uterine fibroids? And uterine fibroids only affect women.
You know, Dr. K, I was about to ask you, how does this thing affect the men? You know, I know
it does because
you gave me a sense of relief right there. You know. I'm sorry, I'm not saying it's good that it's affecting the women. I'm only saying that I'm hearing some men saying some stuff.
I'm wondering, if it does. And it does.
Okay, let's hear it.
Through how it affects the men. Okay, so uterine fibroids are basically growths that occur in the muscle and tissue of the walls of the uterus. Okay? So they're usually not cancerous. In fact, it's very rare for them to change to become cancerous. Not that it can't happen, but it's extremely rare. So they're really not cancerous. So they're these I usually think of them like onion rings or onions inside the walls of the uterus. It can be on the outside because they can be hanging on the outside, but most times they're in the walls and they can actually be inside the endometrium or compromise the endometrium. So if you know what the uterus looks like, you have the uterine, the space of the uterus, and then you have the muscle of the uterus. Now, once it's in the uterus, it might not cause problems when it's in the wall or compromising the wall. Then there's a possibility if you try to take them out, you can compromise the mucus lining or the mucosa, and then you have risk of infertility. And that's one way it can affect a man because your wife won't be able to get pregnant and produce your ear, as all men want. So basically, fibroids can grow singly by themselves or they can go in clusters. So there are women who have fibroids and have no clue because they're tiny, they have no symptoms, and there are women who sometimes have bigger fibroids. And when they go to their doctor, the doctor does a pelvic examination and said, your uterus is bulky. It feels a little bigger than what it's supposed to be. And when they do the vaginal examination, they will say, it really is, and they will send you for additional imaging, which I'll talk about later. So, as I say to you, you have different types of fibroids. They might be in the muscle, they might be outside, they might be hanging like apples on the uterus or like mangoes. And so we call those pedunculated fibroids.
Here's a
And the
question.
problem with fibroids is that it's a pain that's associated with it. So women who have fibroids, as I say, may have no symptoms at all, or they may have pain, excessive bleeding. Sometimes they might have pain when they're having sex. It might be very discomfort. It might be uncomfortable, or it just might be painful, or they might have back pain, lower back pain, and sometimes, depending on the size of the fibroid, the abdomen can protrude, and also it can cause other problems. So because the fibroids tend to be so big, sometimes it's pressing on the bladder. And when it presses on the bladder, they have problems with their bladder function. It can press on the rectum, and they can have problems with voiding. So it could be constipation or otherwise because of the pressing of the fibroid, which is big. So the fibroids can be tiny or they can be big, like a 20-week baby. So it all depends on the fibroids that you have. And then the symptoms will go based on the size of the fibroid and what is happening. The thing about uterine fibroids is that it's the sad thing, I was looking, and black women are proportionately disproportionate, or should I say that they are at higher risk for uterine fibroids than white women. In fact, it says 6 times.
Yeah.
And there are a number of factors that
6 times higher.
that's what the studies say. I mean, they need more studies, but they said 6 times higher. And they said the reason for this is, one, black women tend to have more hormones, higher levels of estrogen and progesterone than their white counterparts.
Oh my. You know what? Dr. K, when you said that a while ago, it sparks a nerve in me right away. We have seen so many quarrels and arguments with black, the black family is always arguing, and it's always arguing, and it's always arguing. I know when you said that to me now, that the black women have more hormones, and I know what the hormones do, some the imbalance of the hormones, or they work sometimes, and it causes the discomfort or the uneasiness, or even the fact that you may be a little bit more agitated than the white woman. I'm hearing all of that. So if I'm wrong, please help me to understand.
Say that again.
So I was saying that because you just explained that the reason for black women to have more cases of fibroids is because
because of
their
the hormones.
hormone level is 6 times higher in black women.
Not 6 times, it's just higher.
It's just higher. Well, you said the rate of fibroids is
Actually, it's
six times
actually
higher
three times
than.
more higher in 3 times more higher in black women than white women. But
But then,
they're
but
saying
then,
one of the reasons is the
mm,
hormone levels are greater in black women
greater,
than they
far
are.
greater than white women. And I'm saying, I know how the thing, the whole hormones, so it works, the PMS and all. We're not talking about PMS today, but then we know, as men, well, the ones that are actually living for a while and actually experience a few things, know that these things can be very catastrophic and it can be dangerous for the health of the relationship. When those hormones go off, it can just blow up like a bomb, and I see the arguments that black women, black men have all the time, and I'm saying, why do white women are not, just doing that, and no, Dr. K, you have settled that thought in my mind very easily. I did not know that this was so, I'm just assigning that. I'm thinking about it now.
Well, everybody has the hormones. Estrogen and progesterone are present in just about every woman of childbearing age once they reach puberty. So it's just the level. So I mean, the symptoms are going to be just the same. PMS is going to happen because of the increase in the level of the hormone. It's not when black women probably tend to have more hormones, more estrogen, more progesterone, but the same process occur that before the period the levels are going to increase
So I
for
would then say this,
whichever
all right.
women.
So there's two places to that then. So one, all right. So I'm going to assign this then to, I'm going to model that to a chicken and our hens, our hen and our chickens. And so I would see the black woman as a more dangerous mother if you try to trouble a young one because of this high level that is now increased in her body. And that's where I probably want to put it then. So maybe it spills off a little bit over and the guys get a little bit, but I think it's a protective arm of that nature of the woman that protects her young. So I'm going to just leave it at that and assign it to black women being more protective of their young more than any other woman on the planet.
So let's continue. So why the disparity? They're saying that by age 35, about 60% of black women tend to have uterine fibroids compared to like 6% of white women. Things that are said, the genetics, women tend to be more genetically predisposed, have a family history of we talked about the hormone, we talked about this, we talked about socioeconomic factors, that the limitations with healthcare quality, okay? And also they're saying lifestyle. They're thinking that being exposed to chemicals like in your hair products might put them at risk for uterine fibroids.
Well, Dr. K, I was looking at a documentary, a small documentary, and it exposes the manufacturing or production of different hair products, as you say, but not just hair products, but wigs or the additive or ear addings. What do you call those? Those extensions that are added to women's hair. That they are also linked to cancer and other conditions that can occur within a woman. And in a woman, I know that you're saying this. I'm now linking the conversation with the documentary saying that, and the conversation we're having now. And we wanted to do a program, a show on just that. The hair of that is actually being placed on your head, and it's supposed to be beautiful, but then it is attacking the woman not in so many different ways after providing a beauty that it might be a dangerous thing, not so nice after all.
Right, that's something that we have to look in, but these are things that they're thinking that is just the chemicals that they have. And if you notice, the black women are the ones who are more likely to wear extensions and other things. And so I don't know if it's a deliberate attempt, but I can't say it is. But the chemicals that they're using to process all of these things tend to have harmful effect on our black women. Now, what are the other risks for uterine fibroids? We talked about genetics. We talked about family history. Not having children is also a risk factor for having uterine fibroids.
What do you mean?
And I
What do you
always
mean
say
by not
nothing
having
goes in.
children, Dr. K? Not having children. What do you mean by that? Because in today's world, we understand that having children is not a very productive thing to do. Maybe it takes away your money from you. It causes you to be poor, and so you might also not want to have too many of those little those young ones around because they eat away at your pockets. So when you say that, you mentioned this now that children is possibly a very good part of the healthcare of the women if they do have children. That's what you're saying.
In a sense, yes. I mean, there's always positives and negatives to this decision, but never having children puts you at risk for uterine fibroids. And I always say, if nothing grows in there, something will grow in the uterus. It was made to grow a child. And also, getting your menstruation at an early age, reaching puberty at an early age, or not puberty, but menarche at an early age, that is getting your menstruation, puts you at risk, or having late menopause because of the prolonged period of your estrogen and progesterone level. And also obesity puts you at risk for uterine fibroids. And we talked about the fibroids itself, but fibroids in itself, apart from the pain that occurs, what can happen because you're bleeding so much, you can become anemic. So people are thinking that, oh yeah, I'm feeling weak because I have fibroids. It's not really because of the fibroid. It's because of the heavy bleeding, and you get the anemia. Then you become lack of drive, motivation. You become weaker. You tend to be more short of breath when you're going upstairs or when you're exercising, and that's just because of the anemia why you feel weak. There could be infertility because of the fibroid, and it's not a very common thing, but if the fibroids are really, really big, especially if they're abutting the endometrium, then basically what is going to happen is that your fertilized egg is not going to be able to implant into the endometrium, and you're at risk. And not to mention the fact that people with big fibroids tend to have problems. So think about getting pregnant, and pregnancy, the hormones that support pregnancy will also cause your fibroids to get bigger. So the baby is growing and the fibroid is growing now. The baby and the fibroids are fighting for the same space. So this can put you at risk for complications in the pregnancy.
Could I ask you a question? I know Lady Ellis is dying to ask some questions, and I'm just dogging the show this morning. I'm just taking over the conversation and just asking all the questions. But I want to ask, because you keep mentioning children and fibroids. What's the relationship between the two of them? Is there a relationship between having children and having fibroids? How does this work? What's the relationship? Or let me ask the question in this way. Let me frame the question this way, Dr. K. If a woman don't have children versus the one who does, which one have a higher risk of having fibroids? And if so, if you have children,
and I can't say that.
Wait, this is what I'm saying, Dr. K. I'm just asking. And if you're having children, at what time? Let me see if I can fix this. If you have children at a certain time, does it prevent fibroids, or after the period fibroids start to grow? I'm trying to ask a question that makes sense. And I'm thinking I'm not making sense with the question.
And the answer is
try again.
Having children early does not prevent you from having fibroids.
No.
You might not have fibroids early, but then you're not going to be having children for the next 40 years of your childbearing age. Unless you're some people who have 25 children and 16 children, then you have children from the day you could have children until you could not have children anymore.
And
Yes,
and
I suppose in
and you're saying in those cases that the woman have children and she can't have no more children, she don't have fibroids.
I'm not saying that the possibility exists, but remember, fibroid is genetic. If your family, if you have a family history, if your parents, your mother, or your siblings, close relative have a history of fibroids and have had fibroids, you are at increased risk. So even though you had your first child at 18, the second child at 25, the third child at 30, when you reach 40, you have 5 children between 18 and 40. At 45, you end up with these huge fibroids in your tummy. At 15, they're growing so much bigger because you're not having any children anymore. So I'm saying probably between the ages of 18 and you probably had small fibroids, but the fibroids grew over time.
But then you're saying then though that if you have your children early, it's more unlikely that you will have something that will
And
obstruct.
not necessarily, they're 18-year-old, they're 20-year-olds who end up having fibroids and having huge fibroids.
But I'm saying, what would be the statistics then? Yeah, not asking for statistics
I
today.
do not have the
No, I'm not
statistics, so I
asking for
could
the
not give that
statistics.
to you.
But would it be more likely for a young person to have fibroids over someone who is older?
It's not more likely for a young person to have fibroids over somebody who's older, but it happens a lot.
So it means, therefore, like everything else, the risk of having fibroids at a younger age is far less than having at an older age. And in this
Correct.
sense, childbearing would be better off served earlier than later.
That's correct.
I just want to get to those questions so those come out right away. And what are the best years for childbearing, Dr. K?
The best years for childbearing is in the early ages. I mean, early 20s.
And the worst time to start having children?
Well, there's really no worst time, but it's suggested not to have your children, your first child after 35.
I will.
36 and older, it increases your risk,
Well,
not
Dr.
just for
K,
you, but for the baby also.
I thank you for that clarification because, as men, as you say, it affect men, the fibroids affect us, but we don't have them. For the guys who are walking around saying that they have fibroids and they're men, we're having a problem with you already. I'm sorry. But anyways, so this time you answer this question for me and I'm satisfied. I'm thankful. The men who are listening on this conversation, they are happy to hear that they want to have their wives early mothers, before a certain age, so they don't get in a situation with their children having problems and their wives having problems. And they love their wives so much. Thank you, Dr. K.
Okay, so how is it the uterine fibroids diagnosed? Usually, with a simple ultrasound can diagnose your fibroid. You might want to do additional imaging, but a simple ultrasound is good enough to diagnose the fibroids. And there are many different treatment modalities for fibroids, and it all depends on what's happening with you. There are medications that can be used, but remember, medications have their side effects. So you have to discuss with your doctor which one is best for you. And then there is taking out the fibroids. So younger women, we might just want to take out the fibroid because they're desirous of having children. So they might not want to take out the entire uterus is one of the treatment modalities. But young women will just take out the fibroid. But remember, taking out the fibroid doesn't mean that the fibroid is going to be gone forever. It can grow back. The other thing that can happen is uterine embolization, where they actually try to try to destroy the blood flow to the fibroids through the uterine artery or the radial artery. And as a result of that, by doing that, what they do is they actually cause the fibroid will eventually die, because if there's no blood flow to the fibroid will die. And this is not exactly the same for everybody, and that's why you have to talk to your doctor about whether or not this is a good treatment modality for you. So we can use medication, we can use uterine embolization, we can do myomectomy, we can do hysterectomy, we can do radio frequency ablation. So it all depends on what you have. I mean, there are women who use the IUD, which is the hormone, that will help with bleeding. Some people use the contraceptives because it decreases. You use exogenous hormones instead of the ones that you produce, that should try to decrease the size of the fibroids. But then again, as I say, it all depends, because remember, the fibroid itself can cause you to have some things like deep vein thrombosis. Hormones like your oral contraceptive pills can cause you to have DVT, and as a result of that, you can get a pulmonary embolism. The fibroid, because of the mass in the abdomen, it's causing decreased blood flow to the lower limbs, so there's stasis, and then you can get a clot forming in the legs, which can travel up to the lungs, and that can cause problems. Or the hormones can cause what do you call it now, a coagulable state. So what is going to happen is that it's going to cause a hypercoagulable state and put you at risk for clotting. So you can get clots in the legs that can actually move to the lungs and can cause a pulmonary embolism. So yes, as I say, there are lots of things to do, but basically the real thing to do for uterine fibroids is try to prevent it. There's no way to prevent it, but we can decrease our risk. If we're black and if we have a family history, it's hard for us to say we are never going to have fibroids, but we can do things to decrease our risk. For one thing, we can decrease the foods that we eat. We can tend to eat foods that have a lower inflammatory response in our body. So reduce inflammatory foods like red meat and other things that are, and alcohols that are and processed foods that have an increased risk for inflammation, and these cause hormone imbalances. Soy is one of the things that has a lot of can have estrogen attached to it. So it all depends on how much of that you're going to eat, especially when you're having fibroids. You want to eat foods that are rich in antioxidants, your vegetables, your green leafy products, your tomatoes, your apples. You know, those things you want to eat. And then you can support your gut health because you want to decrease the inflammation. And then they said calcium and vitamin D is important in decreasing your risk factor for fibroids, increasing your calcium intake, and that's something that women need anyway. And also consider foods that basically have decreased, any food that have decreased inflammation. They're saying that things like milk thistle, teas that contain green teas, milk thistle, dandelion root, and ashwagandha, and those kind of things that will help with balancing your hormones and decreasing your risk for fibroids. But the thing about it, if reducing your stress decreases your inflammation, sleeping, regular exercise, these are things that we say will decrease our risk for getting fibroids. And we go back to just our diet, our stress, our exercise, our sleep. I mean, it's like everything we talk about, we go back to those foundation in terms of our lifestyle. What there are a number of herbs that we can use. I mean, if you want to do alternative method for treating your fibroids, then you probably can speak to a naturopath who can help you with different herbs. But the thing about it is that your lifestyle alone will help. I'm not saying it's going to get rid of it. I'm not saying it's going to stop, because, you know, some people are at risk for getting fibroids from early age, and because of their healthy lifestyle, they might get it later on in life. And the truth is that, as I say, being black, having a lot of hormones, put you at risk. The fibroids will grow. Nothing is growing. There's no baby growing. A fibroid will grow, especially if you're at risk.
Dr. K, I'm a quiet advocate for
A baby is growing.
change. You know, when we have a conversation about fibroids, because it's such a common thing that women have to deal with. Sometimes I find that there is not a deliberate effort in screening, because certainly if we know we are at risk, there are certain decisions, including childbearing, that we would consider in our timeline a little bit different, because you might delay childbearing because you're pursuing your career and other aspects of life, and then you find out at the time that you consider childbearing that you have fibroids, and that can be a very stressful situation for the woman, for the family, and of course the first surgery or the surgery that you want to do is not
A
to
myomectomy.
hysterectomy or myomectomy. So your quality of life, the scarring, the whole stress that brings, it's a difficult thing. So I say all of that to say, similarly to how we advocate for, or we have a timeline, we have screening that are recommended, like your pap smear that you do when you start sexual activity, and every year, when you're 40, you do your mammogram. For the fibroids, unless you go to a physician who is deliberate enough to say do an ultrasound, you could be going to the physician every year from your 20, but you don't discover that you have fibroids, even early fibroids. So why can't it be a screening that, say, from your 20 you do an annual pelvic ultrasound, rather than just relying on symptoms to exist before you do the screening? Because certainly you would make certain decisions, or you would alter your lifestyle to now manage that as an issue.
So it's basically the risk and the benefits. So usually when you go to your doctor, the moment you're engaging in sexual activity, and your doctor will want to do, and you will go basically on a yearly or 2 yearly to get your pap smear. Your doctor should actually do a pelvic examination. So because remember, those persons who have small fibroids and have no symptoms, we don't want to do anything. They will stay with those fibroids forever until they reach menopause, and the fibroids might shrink. The fibroids can shrink throughout your life. They can, even though they can get bigger, they can get smaller, they can stay the same. So the hormones, they can outgrow the blood supply and they shrink. They can feed on the hormones and get bigger, or they can stay the same. So when your doctor do your pelvic examination, if you have no symptoms, and your doctor will just say, okay, you'll feel the uterus. You will normally feel the uterus. Uterus doesn't feel any different. Uterus might feel a little bit bigger, but your doctor sometimes, a lot of times, fibroids are incidental findings. You have no symptoms, but when the doctor do the examination and feel that the uterus feel a little bulky, they say, something is happening here, I need to send it for an ultrasound. So yes, there is, possibly we should screen, but then the screening is really the examination. It's really the pelvic examination. Your doctor will screen you using the pelvic examination, and if they suspect that something is different, then they will send you on, or you're having symptoms. So nobody's really going to send you for a pelvic ultrasound if you're not having any problems, especially if you're young. But yes, it's something that can be considered. Just screening generally, but how often you're going to screen? Because I went to the doctor this year and I had no fibroids, and next year something started growing in my tummy, or 2 years later. So you're going to be doing a pelvic ultrasound all the time, and so the real screening really is to do a pelvic examination. That's an easy examination. You're going to get your pap smear already, so the doctor is going to just do a pelvic examination, feel that uterus feel the same, uterus has changed, let's get an ultrasound.
Thank you so much, Dr. K, for that wealth of information. Listeners, viewers, those on TikTok. We have TikTok viewers this morning. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you're joining. Thank you so much, Dr. K, for sharing that information with us. Please feel free to send your questions in. Dr. K joins us every single Wednesday, and she discusses matters affecting our health. Thank you so much, Dr. K. We have learned a whole lot from you this morning.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I will see you again next week with another interesting topic.
But as for me, I want to say thanks, Dr. K, for so much information for us. Us guys are very interested in the conversation that we are having, and we are thankful. Baby years, guys, make sure you start early. Don't wait until you're 40 to start. Your wife can't manage that process. Guys, please, Mikey G giving you a head start, a heads up on it, all right? Thank you, Dr. K. Of course, it's Wellness Wednesday right here on Flashpoint.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4, Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
Of course, it's another Wellness Wednesday right here on Flashpoint. Indeed, it has been a beautiful morning. So much information. For those who have just joined us for the first time, where have you been? Please continue to join us each morning right here on Flashpoint. We have so many different things to talk about, but every Wednesday, it's Wellness Wednesday right here with Dr. K. Of course, our news comes up next.
Good morning. It is Wednesday, May 21st, and these are the news headlines on Flashpoint Radio. I'm Corley Karen. Police Chief confident Ed Bush shooter behind bars. Commissioner of Police Kurt Walton says he is confident that the individual responsible for last year's mass shooting at Ed Bush Stadium, which left 7 people injured, is now behind bars, though not for that crime specifically. Speaking at a press briefing, Walton confirmed no one has been charged in the stadium shooting, but noted that anti-gang operations afterward led to arrests on other firearm-related offences. 15 guns were recovered during that period. The Commissioner says overall firearm crime is down 21% this year, even as the Ed Bush incident significantly spiked last year's attempted murder statistics. Public input invited on a runway expansion into North Sound. The Cayman Islands Airports Authority is inviting the public to weigh in on ambitious airport projects including a proposed 2,000-foot runway extension at Owen Roberts International Airport that would stretch into the North Sound. Draft terms for the required environmental assessments are available for public review. Other projects include relocating the Edmund Dodman Airfield in Little Cayman and widening the runway at Charles Kirk Airport in Cayman Brac. These projects will shape the future of Cayman's airports for generations to come, said CIAA CEO Albert Anderson. Education Minister vows, quote, no student will be left behind. New Education Minister Wilson Anglin is promising major changes in early childhood education to address what he calls unacceptable performance levels in maths and English. Anglin, returning to the ministry after 12 years, says 2/3 of primary students and half of high school graduates are not meeting the basic academic standards. He said, quote, I'm back, sleeves rolled up and ready to rock and roll and get the work done for the people, end quote. MP Brown testifies in prison smuggling trial. Former Deputy Premier Kenneth Bryan appeared in court Friday as a character witness in the trial of a prison officer accused of trying to smuggle ganja into Northwood Prison. Bryan testified that defendant Norman Watson was a mentor to him in his younger years. Watson is charged with misconduct in a public office after allegedly attempting to bring nearly 55 grams of ganja into the prison last February. Charities urged to use heads and hearts in disaster relief. Cayman charities were advised to balance compassion with caution when sending aid abroad. At the R3 Foundation Symposium on May 14, compliance expert Nadine Hale warned non-profits about the risk of poor due diligence, especially when donating to high-risk regions like Haiti, Cuba, and Nicaragua. Quote, you have to do the due diligence with who you are sending the funds to, end quote, she said. Quote, if you don't understand the risk, ask for help, end quote. In regional news, UWI students to explore surgical robotics in UK. 3 UWI students have been selected for the inaugural Parasol Surgical Robotics Research Program in the UK. From June 28th to August 16th, they'll train at the University of Leeds Storm Lab, gaining experience in cutting-edge surgical robotics with artificial intelligence. This initiative, led by St. Lucia researcher Nikita Gunich, aims to establish a Caribbean-based research ecosystem aligned with regional clinical needs. The program also links to the UWI-FIC 5IR AI conference in Antigua next month, where Caribbean students will compete in robotics and data science challenges. Woman returns after 32 years missing. In an extraordinary reunion, 56-year-old Denise Odelia Charles returned to Antigua on Tuesday after 3 decades, after which she was reported missing. She arrived aboard a Venezuelan government chartered jet and was greeted with tearful embraces from her brother and nephew. Charles had been missing since late 1992. Her return brings long-awaited closure to a mystery that haunted her family for 32 years. Those were your news headlines on Flashpoint Radio. Please continue to stay tuned for more updates throughout the day.
Audley Scott, and you're listening to Flashpoint Radio. Rise and shine. Your morning boost of inspiration, news, and fun. With Mikey G, Lady Elise, and Coralie Karen. The unmistakable combination, synergized to navigate.
When you need ultrasound that's safe and effective, you must visit Asai Ultrasound Imaging. They're conveniently located at number 4, Chestnut Center, Smith Road, Georgetown, Cayman Islands. With experienced technologists with over 20 years experience, their friendly staff will make you comfortable while you get your procedure done. Asai Ultrasound Imaging is open Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Call Asai Ultrasound Imaging 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426. That's 345-949-2454 or 345-938-3426.
So Wellness Wednesday is brought to you by Asai Ultrasound for all your ultrasound needs. Right here in the Grand Cayman Islands, of course, and across the rest of the world. Of course, we are broadcasting, our listenership is a wide one, and we are having persons out of in Canada, UK, United States of America, and of course the Caribbean. So please, guys, we want to thank you for joining us this morning. As we grow, we want you to know every Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday, is here on Flashpoint. Of course, remember, continue to listen to Flashpoint on www.flashpointmedia.ky. Our web radio continues to play. And of course, today is all Reggae Wednesday, guys. We're going to have some good times today. Log on. Of course, come here, right at Flashpoint, www.flashpointmedia.ky. Flashpoint web radio continues all Reggae Wednesday. Today, no doubt, some great music coming up, and of course, if you enjoy a few things that you didn't before, and if you never enjoyed some good reggae music for a while, then today you might. Tomorrow, remember, it's Thursday, Yardy Link Up, right here on Flashpoint. Have yourself a great day, guys, and a better one when it comes tomorrow.
It's like we're running in circles, going around every day, getting stuck in the hurdles of yesterday. Don't you wanna go further, away from the fray? Let's not get stuck in our worries, we'll make our way. Won't you come outside where the sunflowers bloom? Breathe in the air, look up to the moon. I'll meet you outside, away from the crowd. Just you and me together, and we'll all sing there outside. Just us in the sky. I will go wherever, I'll be yours forever. this circus? Is it innate? Feels like a heavy burden, but I can't relate. Do our actions even matter? Or is there some fate? At least now I'm feeling better. I know I'm here to stay. Won't you come outside where the sunflowers bloom? Breathe in the air. Look up to the moon.